y'all. This is part two. Pop's just called. Let me do part two real quick. His phone. Neil deGrasse Tyson threw me off a little bit, but he was in some of the teaching. If it gets interrupted again, we'll end it like that. But he said that man, as he advanced, he, got rid of some of these mythological beliefs and views. Actually, when we debate these issues, they're not mythological. Some of those questions about evolution are scientific questions. I read an article, I was going to discuss a little bit about I read an article on Christianity Today earlier, and some of the, it was a Christian, fought in the war, and I think Afghanistan. He got injured, a parachute injury, but he changed his view. He said when he was fighting, he had a view that it was a brotherhood. The people he was fighting with, it was a brotherhood. But when he got back to the States, he had a very anti-view of Muslims in general. And he saw that because the men he was fighting with were a community, a brotherhood, he explained it sort of like when you're on a sport team and you train for a certain sport. You can't wait to get into the action, he said, and they embraced that view. They were training to go fight, training to go kill, and they looked forward to it. This was a challenge. He later became a pastor. It's in Christianity Today magazine, a cover story. Online, you can read it. I wanted to deal with some of these issues. I didn't want to be too... the Dylan Roof kid who shot those people in Charleston, he believed some of the writings about blacks is with a higher sex drive. A lot of those writings came straight out of the original teachings of evolution, okay? And so we want to be aware of those things. There was something called eugenics. Eugenics was the science that came out of evolution, but Hitler embraced it. And this got into the breeding of the pure white race, the Aryan race, and a lot of these things degraded humanity. The chapter of Genesis, I put it, said, God made man in his image. This is where we get moral conscience from. This is where we get self-awareness from. This is where we understand what right and wrong come from. So today, in this little brief thing, I wanted you to see, I'm not going to hit all of the subjects, but I wanted you to get an understanding that these debates and these questions, don't be so quick when you learn and when you see to just say and embrace certain things. Well, all the other people who have a different view, they're idiots. One of the big things that Darwin believed in, and the other scientists in his day, they believed in what's called spontaneous generation. This was considered a very big proof for evolution. And one of the ways they believed in it, for instance, you'd see a pool of water in the street. Maybe you'd see a fish, in that pool of water. We've experienced this, right? Oh, how did that little fish get in there? Spontaneous generation. Or maggots were left, or food was left out, and maggots developed on the food. Darwin and them taught that shows you that life comes from nothing. Now, there were other people, Christians as well, that said that's not true. And they were looked at as ignorant. Oh, come on, science shows us that life just came, those maggots came from nothing. Science, that was science, shows us that. And then they did some tests and realized actually it wasn't so. Birds landed in the water, carried things. Birds pooped on things, carried maggots. That's how you get the maggots. They covered the food once with, I think they used a cheesecloth. They allowed it to say, well, let's see if nothing in the air can land in that pool of water or on that food that we left out. So then science said, well, we were wrong. But yet the people that were objecting to spontaneous generation were considered idiots, unscientific and fools. Well, if you grab hold of that belief today, you would be considered an idiot, unscientific and foolish. But yet that was a belief, and that was a very big belief that backed up evolution. So John, what would be we did a little more on evolution than I planned. What would be your view today? My view today is this. God could have used naturalistic methods. And it says in the scripture, man came from the dust of the ground. Okay. God could have used a lesser form to form man. And some Christians, I don't really hold to theistic evolution, okay? There's a lot of questions to evolution, both from science as well as our views of Scripture. But if it were so, it would simply mean that God did make man through naturalistic things, okay? That verse in Genesis said man came from the water, all right? So it's possible that things, not man came from the water, but life, somebody's walking by, can get me off here. Life came from the water, aspect of it, okay? Let the waters bring forth. So you could find even in text that that's there. We want to be open-minded, but we don't want to reject the reality that man is made in the image of God. And even the Christian scientists who actually do believe in God and also believe God used evolution, they will always make a distinction that man is distinct from the other creation because he has a soul, he has a moral conscience, he has those attributes that God put within man. So I want you to see today, when we have questions, global warming is a question. John, do you believe in global? I believe that obviously man's advancement, industrialization age has made an effect. But if there are scientists that question the amount, that don't look at people as foolish. The debate today has become you're ignorant if you do not believe. No. Look at the evidence of things. I don't deny global warming, but there is a question whether or not the amount of money that they want to throw into the system in order to maybe change the temperature 1 degree Fahrenheit at the costs of trillions of dollars of changes, could that money be used maybe in a better way to help the underprivileged? There are arguments made for that. So don't just denigrate that view, okay? Be open to it. I don't look at all evolutionists today as a bunch of racist, bigoted people. Even though one of the most famous books called The Origin of Species, The Descent of Man, which was part of it, taught racism to a degree where anybody would reject it completely today. But it was taught in there, and Hitler and others embraced it. The founder of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, she founded it. The first one was in New York. She held to some of the views of the purity of the race. It's an amazing thing, isn't it? This was the view of eugenics, that Hitler said we can purify the race. Some of the writings of Margaret Sanger, Google it, the founder of Planned Parenthood, she believed that the blacks were producing too much, and the inferior race, we have to set up a system of birth control specifically for the blacks, or else she held these views. Okay, inform yourself. I'm not saying everybody that works for Planned Parenthood today holds those views, but it's an astounding thing that a woman like that who did found Planned Parenthood said we can't let the blacks keep breeding. A lot of these racist ideas came straight out of evolution. So I want you to, there's a difference between biological evolution and social evolution, okay? And so, but we can't do all that today. I want you to understand that we're made in the image of God, regardless of the different views people have, and we are distinct. And that's where we have that moral conscience within us, what Paul talks about in Romans, and that's what makes us have guilt, whether we reject God and say we don't believe in God. When you do an act that you know is inherently sinful because it's within you, you cannot escape that guilt. It comes with the package. And the sociologists and behavioral psychologists, a lot of them tried to get around that, and they were never able to do that, okay? So today, 2 quick videos. That was Pops calling me. That's where you're going to get 2 videos. I'm going to call him back right now. But that's it for today. I didn't hit everything I was going to hit. Look, on Facebook, I love you guys. I don't send friends things out, but I accepted some. I did it in a long time, and then it said, oh, a certain person accepted your friend's request. I never sent a friend's request. I don't know how, but you're welcome, some girl, I don't know her. You're welcome to be on my Facebook, but I don't send friends requests out. So but I'm glad you're on, whoever that person is. I don't know her, but I want you to know I don't do that. Social media can be a big problem. The other day I was talking to my daughter. I'll end with a little funny story. I texted her. And I said, what do you want to do? You know, and I don't always have my phone and look at texts. I put it down when I'm at the house walking around, and I'll check it. And I texted her and said, you want to do anything today, Debbie? And then she texted back and said, what are you thinking about? Like, what do you got in mind? And I just said, and I texted like 2 hours later, when I looked at it, I said, whatever. Meaning, I don't care. But of course, she's younger, so whatever to her meant. And then I got a text back and said, Dad, with like a couple of question marks. And I realized she took it as like, oh, whatever. Social media can be tough because people don't understand. I don't read comments. I don't. People unfriend you. How dare he not? I didn't see your comment. I don't read them. So it's a whole nother feel. Read that chapter. That's it for today. I'm going to go see Pops. Now that I could get up, let me show you a nice view. That's the Lexington over there. Probably be a little windy. And that's where I'm at today. Pops doesn't live too far from here. We'll go up the street and see him a little bit. Okay? That's it. God bless you.